Hello everyone. Today I will discuss the angle of elevation and the angle of depression. First, let us define some important terms that you need to understand. We have the line of sight. The line of sight defined as it is the imaginary line that connects the eye of the observer to the object being observed. If there was a boy standing and looking at an object, the imaginary straight or broken line in the figure is what we called the line of sight. Another term that you need to know is the angle of elevation. The angle of elevation defines as the angle from the horizontal to the line of sight of the observer to the object above. From the given figure, if you look at an object above, the angle that is formed from the horizontal line to the line of sight above is what we call the angle of elevation. And lastly, the angle of depression. The angle of depression defines as the angle from the horizontal to the line of sight of the observer to the object below. From the figure, if looking at an object below, the angle that is formed from the horizontal line to the line of sight below is what we call the angle of depression. Here is an example. The boy looking at the airplane above. The angle that is formed from the horizontal line to the line of sight above is an example of an angle of elevation. Another example. The boy looking at the car from the top of the building. The angle that is formed from the horizontal line to the line of sight below is an example of an angle of depression. I think you can already determine what is the angle of elevation and the angle of depression. Let us have an example of a word problem. The word problem is: the shadow of a tree is 24 meters and the angle of elevation of the top of the tree is 27 degrees. How tall is the tree? Let us solve the problem in a step-by-step process, so that you understand easily. Our first step is: what is asked in the problem? It asks how tall is the tree. Next, the second step. What are the given in the problem? A shadow of a tree which is 24 meters, and an angle of elevation of the top of the tree, which has a measurement of 27 degrees. Next, the third step. What trigonometric ratio is appropriate to use? Let's draw the figure of the word problem, so that we can visualize. Based on the word problem, there is a tree that has a shadow of 24 meters, with an angle of elevation of 27 from the eye of the observer to the top of the tree. The word problem is looking for the height of the tree. Therefore, the height of the tree will unknown, or let's write it as x. There you go. This is the figure of the problem. Based on the figure of the word problem, what trigonometric ratio is suited to solve the problem? The appropriate or suited trigonometric ratio for the problem is the tangent formula. Why? Based on the figure, the opposite side is the height of the tree which is missing, and the adjacent side is the shadow of a tree, which has a given value of 24 meters. Therefore, the formula of tangent which opposite side over the adjacent side is the appropriate to use. Next, the fourth step. Solve the problem. Let us start with the formula of a tangent. The formula of tangent is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Let us substitute the given value. We have a tangent of 27 degrees that is equal to, substitute the value of the opposite side which is x, over, substitute the value of the adjacent side, which is 24. As you can see, there is a fraction on the other side of the equation. To deal with this, make sure the other side of the equation is also a fraction. So, we will insert the denominator of tangent 27 degrees, which is 1. Perform cross multiplication. So, we have x times 1. The product is equal to x. Then, tangent 27 degrees multiplied by 24 is equal to tangent 27 degrees times 24. Then, we have x is equal to. Find the value of tangent 27 degrees in your calculator. The value of tangent 27 degrees is equal to approximately 0.51. Then, we have 0.51 times 24. So, we have x is equal to. The product of 0.51 times 24 is equal to 12.24. The value of x is equal to 12.24. Therefore, the height of the tree is approximately 12.24 meters. Let us have another word problem. The word problem is: an airplane has a distance along the ground with 8 kilometers to the airport. The airplane is flying at a height of 5 kilometers above the ground. What is the angle of depression? So, our first step. Identify what is asked on the problem. The problem asked what is the angle of depression. Next, the second step. Identify what is given in the problem. A distance along the ground with 8 kilometers to the airport and the airplane is flying at a height of 5 kilometers above the ground. Next, the third step. Decide what trigonometric ratio is appropriate to use. Let's draw the figure of the word problem so that we can visualize. Based on the problem, there is an airplane that has a distance along the ground 8 kilometers from the airport. The airplane is flying at a height of 5 kilometers above the ground. The problem is looking for the angle of depression. Therefore, the angle is formed from the horizontal line to the line of sight from the airplane to the airport. Let the angle of depression be an x since it is missing. As you can see, the angle of depression and angle of elevation are an example of alternating angles. If you remember your lesson in parallel lines cut by a transversal, these alternating angles are congruent or equal. Therefore, if the angle of depression has a value of x degrees, then the angle of elevation also has a value of x degrees. There you go, this is the figure of the given word problem. Based on the figure, what trigonometric ratio is appropriate to solve the problem? The appropriate or suited trigonometric ratio for the problem is the tangent formula. Why? Based on the figure, the opposite side of the angle is the height of the airplane above the ground, which is 5 kilometers. And the adjacent side is the distance of the airplane along the ground to the airport, which has a given value of 8 kilometers. Therefore, the tangent formula, which is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side, is appropriate to solve the problem. Next, the fourth step. Solve the problem. Solution. Let us start with the formula of a tangent. The formula of tangent is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Let us substitute the given value. We have a tangent of x degrees that is equal to, substitute the value of the opposite side, which is 5, over, substitute the value of the adjacent side, which is 8. Tangent x degrees are equal to 5 divided by 8 is equal to 0.625. Then, we have x degrees equal to the inverse of tangent 0.625. Use your calculator to find the inverse of tangent 0.625. Here is the process. Enter the 0.625 in the calculator. Then, press the equal sign, followed by the shift and tangent button, is equal to 32.00. Then, press the degree, minute, and second buttons to convert your answer into the degree. Just get the degree part, which is 32 degrees. Therefore, the angle of depression is equal to 32 degrees.
For more videos on mathematics, please don't forget to subscribe.